All right, let's chat about the thing that I hear from most people when they come back from an Alex Hormozy workshop in Vegas. And that is, if they want to grow their business to the next level, they need to focus on two main KPIs, not just one. And chances are, growing your business, you focused on one of them, and that is cost of acquisition, or CAC, getting more clients, increasing leads, etc. And interestingly enough, and shout out to Hormozy for this, almost every person I have talked to that has come back from that workshop has had some sort of revelation or breakthrough that if they want to build a true business for scale that is sustainable, that they need to start to recalibrate or rebalance how much they prioritize CAC, front-end acquisition, and the second KPI they leave that event realizing is LTV. Because LTV is what the most valuable, scalable, if you want to position your business for sale, if you want to prepare your business for scale, and you want to build a business that is sustainable, the most valuable companies in the world, they obsess over churn and LTV. And so in this video, I'm going to show you how established entrepreneurs add 250,000, $500,000, even $1 million plus to their business. Very profitable revenue, might I add, by turning short-term clients into lifetime clients, by increasing LTV and building your business on a foundation of sustainable, high-ticket, monthly recurring revenue. And not from just having good vibes and over-delivering, but in a way that is predictable and systemized that can be run through a team that leads to results for clients and enthusiasm about your long-term roadmap for delivery. And if you're like many coaches I talk to, they think retention is about relationships, results, and over-delivering. And I'm going to touch on that in a little bit, but my guess is if you have thought that before, you have also had clients that you felt like you built a great relationship with. In fact, they even told you that they loved working with you. You got them results and you over-delivered. And yet, when it was time for them to retain, they said, I'm going to think about it. They said, I think I'm just going to try and figure it out on my own from here. They said, I think I just need more time to keep implementing what you already taught me. And that's because if your back end is not as systemized as you try and bring in front-end clients and built on an actual roadmap, a roadmap that systematically not just gets people to continue, but actually ascends them into higher containers, if you don't have that, then you might not have a truly scalable or sustainable business. You have a business with a leaky bucket on the back end, which is turning your business into a glorified promotion company. The more I market and the more I promote, the more sales I get, which is great when it's great, but it's awful when it's awful, and it leads to a lot of stress, a very volatile revenue roller coaster, and oftentimes a business that leads to burnout. And if you're new here, I really appreciate you being here. My name is Mike. I'm the founder of Champ Dev. We help consult elite coaches, some of the biggest names in the industry, add $250,000 to $1 million in profit in three ways: through leverage, leadership, and LTV, all done in a way that maximizes profits, increases client results, and leads to you building a brand that is top 1% in the industry. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through what we call the experience funnel. It is the exact playbook that the top 1% of coaches now use to get clients to pay upfront, play all out, and actually get results and stay for years. And this is not just about a retention sales script. In fact, that's one of the biggest mistakes I see coaches make, is thinking they just need to optimize their retention sales process to increase their LTV. But the reason why I call it the experience funnel is, think about it like this. Imagine if you had the perfect sales script with your front-end sales, but your leads never saw your content, never saw your marketing, never saw your ads, and never went through some sort of sales funnel. There were no VSLs, there was no nurture, no warm-up or anything like that. They just showed up on a sales call. How effective, even if you had the best sales script in the world, how effective would your enrollments be? And yet, that's what I see coaches do when it comes to their back-end sales. They think they just need to figure out the right retention sales process, and they don't understand how to think about the systemization of the funnel, which is from the day a client starts in your program till the day they're due up, in a way that nurtures, primes, and warms them up to be enthusiastic about continuing, not feeling sold to, in a way that leads to a base of high-ticket monthly recurring revenue, well above industry average LTV, and ascends clients into higher value, more aligned offers that is a win-win for you and for them. So let's quickly talk about what doesn't actually lead to above industry average LTV. But yet it's what I thought and what a lot of people oftentimes think will lead to high levels of retention. They oftentimes think it is about results and over-delivering. And yet I remember when I was talking to a client, she's a 7-figure coach, Julia, and we were talking about this, and I said, I bet you think retention's about over-delivering and getting people results. And yet you probably have clients like that you felt like you over-delivered to. You probably went well above and beyond like scope. You got them results, and yet they didn't stay. And I remember she laughed and started smiling, and she's like, Mike, we literally just got off of a retention sales call just the other day. And this client had just told us about how much she loved us. It was the best investment she had ever made. She had like 3x, 4x, 5x her money. And yet we got on the retention sales call. We got her results. We over-delivered. She loved us. And when we made her an offer to stay into her next level offer, she said, I need to think about it, but I think I just need more time to kind of just keep implementing all the things you already taught me. And yet the client didn't end up retaining. She ended up saying things like, I think I already know everything I need at this point. I just need to implement. I just need more time to implement everything you've already taught me. And I could see how frustrated and almost confused Julia was, because like many coaches, they're like, why would they not want to stay? They love us. We got them results. We over-delivered. And that there lies in the problem of what happens when you try and retain clients and you don't have an experience funnel. Since then, we have installed the experience funnel into our business, and it has generated multiple 6 figures of revenue just from LTV and retention. I'm going to walk you through the exact changes and exact shifts you can make as well. Okay, let's talk about 3 things that you could shift immediately that I've seen add multiple 6 figures to people's businesses almost right away. The first one is stop viewing retention as continuation. Ascension is really what you're shooting for. Ascension is greater than just continuation. And we'll talk about that here in a second. The second thing is called seeds to salvation. And the third thing is E equals E. When these 3 things are not a part of your experience funnel, i.e. how you're delivering specifically, you can end up getting people incredible results, and they can love you, and they still won't be excited to take the next step with you. Let's break down what these 3 things are. Okay, so what I had just put there is that ascension is more of the focus than continuation. But when I work with coaches, a lot of times they are focused on just getting the client to continue. Now, why this is ineffective and what you want to do instead. Number 1, retaining people is not about retaining people, as funny, as crazy as that sounds. It's about recommitting people, not about retaining people. If you just think about even the energetics of it, like retaining people feels more like you're trying to keep people. It feels like it's rooted from a place of scarcity. Recommitting people feels like it's about alignment. And that is where ascension becomes well more important than just continuation. Where most people go wrong about this is when they start thinking about their next level offers, they start immediately with their features. And that is not what gets people excited to stay. Or the mistake they make is thinking, I just don't know what else I would deliver that would make them excited to stay. Like, what else could I deliver? So here's the reality. The features of what you provide and how you deliver might actually stay the same. But if you're not relating to them or recommitting with them about why they would want to stay, what's next for them, and the value and what's going to happen next, they won't be emotionally invested with why they would want to continue moving forward. So let's talk about that. I call that 4 Ps are greater than 4 Cs when it comes to building out ascension offers. 4 Cs are things like what you're going to deliver. What community are they going to be in? Are you going to add new course modules? What group calls are they going to be in? And what level of coaching? We call that the 4Cs. But when you lead with that, when designing your next level offers, you're focused on the features, not the benefits. And if you know anything about sales, people invest emotionally, justify logically. And it's kind of like if I'm going to jiu-jitsu. When I get another belt, I very well might go to the same exact class at the same exact time with the same exact teacher. In other words, the 4Cs might be exactly the same. And yet, I will be emotionally reinvested and re-excited about going to class because I am now back for a new set of 4Ps. What are the 4Ps? Knowing the person. I'm a different person now. I went from blue belt to purple belt. I have a new set of problems I'm working on or trying to improve. The third P, there's a different promise at this next stage. I want to go from purple belt to brown belt now. And the process or the things that the coach might work with me on are different than when I was a white belt. And I get it, right? But it's the same person. It's the same person in their flesh, but it's really important that you see them as a completely different person in who they are as an avatar. So the same way that you have done ideal client homework, I'm sure dozens of times in different programs for your front-end program, I would invite and encourage you to start off with a similar type of assignment doing your 4Ps, but for the next level program. Because when you can relate and connect emotionally back to where that person is, offering an ascension offer no longer feels like something you're doing to sell them something or just try and keep them. It feels effortless and natural. Let's talk about that. A client's problems when they first start with you are not the same problems they have 4 or 6 months later. Let's use weight loss as an example. When they're brand new, their problem is what? I didn't know where to start. I needed an exact plan. Right, etc. Their pains and problems are different 3 to 6 months later. Their pains and problems are maybe more now, I'm kind of bored of everything. I don't know if I want to track macros forever. I've lost 15 pounds and I thought I would look different by now. Maybe their pain at this point is more of a fear of, am I going to put all the weight back on? Versus when they started, it's, will I ever lose the weight? The more you realize that while it's the same person in the flesh, it's a different avatar, it'll make it more effortless for you to relate to who they are, what they want, and the problem that you help them solve. In fact, isn't that what front-end marketing is at the end of the day? I've heard and was always taught quotes like, when you can relate to your avatar's problems better than they can almost explain it themselves, they automatically give you permission and authority to solve that problem for them. And yet you're not slowing down to remember or relate to the problem your ideal client has 6 months into your journey, and you're just treating them still like they're the same person when they first started. And that's what's going to lead you to feel like you just need a continuation offer when oftentimes what they actually need is an ascension offer. And then it feels new to the client, it feels like a next level step, and it feels effortless, like freshman year to sophomore year to junior year. There are phases and there are steps. The 4Cs might actually look exactly the same. But the problem you're solving is different. Just like going to law school costs more money than undergrad. You might be doing a lot of the same things. You might be on the same campus, going to classes, doing homework. But you pay significantly more because of the problem law school, medical school is now going to solve and where your outcome is going to be by the end. The outcome of your ascension program after being with you for 12, 16, 24 months should be significantly more valuable than just the first 3 months. The first 3 months is oftentimes what? We develop the habits to get some weight off. But developing a habit is just practicing something till you get it right. My next level program is about making it a lifestyle. That's practicing it enough till you can't get it wrong. It goes from losing the weight to losing it sustainably and keeping it off. It goes from losing the weight to actually looking the way you want to look. And this is much more valuable than just the first 15 pounds. Now, in their mind, when they first started, they were excited to just lose the 15 pounds. But if you can remember, and you have experience with hundreds and if not thousands of clients, there are clients that still have many challenges, even after 3 to 6 months, even if they lost the 15 to 20 pounds. And that's why I believe you are doing them a disservice by not having a next level offer and just sending them back into the world. When if I were to ask you, How long was your journey of becoming masterful at something you're proud of in your life? Whether it's your health, whether it's an instrument, whether it's a sport. Was it months? Chances are no. Chances are the journey was what? Not even months, not even years, oftentimes decades. And yet we're trying to promise clients that we're going to change their life forever in 3 months. You will change their life in 3 months. It'll have an impact, but not the same value working with them for 12 months, 18 months, or 24 months, or even 36 months and beyond will have. And then lastly, the third key is building this roadmap with 3 simple tiers. An ascension offer, and then some students are a good fit right now for a drop-down offer. So when thinking and imagining your roadmap, you want to think with a mindset of ascension, not continuation. That is from recommitting, not retaining people, relating back to the 4 Ps, not just the 4 Cs, and then having tiers for the different students in your community to ascend, to stay in a continuation for a period of time, and some people need to even just drop down for a little bit until they're ready to take the next step. Okay, let's talk about the second shift that you can make immediately, and that's called seeds to salvation. Let's break this down. Is built on the philosophy of the following, that most people think their retention issue is happening at the end. But the reality is retention is lost at the beginning, not the end. The beginning, not the end. Why? And what's missing in most people's delivery? 1, you want to make sure that at the beginning, you are talking about your roadmap that we just talked about early and often. Think about it. With marketing, they say that people need to see 7 hours of content, 11 different touch points on 4 different platforms before they're ready to buy. And yet, with back-end retention, we don't talk about our next level offers at all. And then it's like 2 weeks, 2 days before their end date. And we're like, hey, by the way, do you want to talk about your next offer? It was already too late. Your retention was lost because you weren't talking about it from the beginning, early and often. Think of it like this. My mom still owns the karate school back in New Jersey that I started in when I was 3 years old. I use that as an example because if a brand new student, even if they're 5 years old, comes into the school, what do you think that 5-year-old is going to learn about when they start karate? Not just the punches and kicks and everything like that. What are they going to learn about when it comes to their journey? They're going to learn about the belts that they can earn. Many karate schools have a wall that says, we are a black belt school, and it's a name of all the different black belts. A 5-year-old is seeing that 15 years from now, they might become a black belt, but they're learning about it on day 1. And they're hearing about it early, and then they're seeing it often. Is that the first and only time they hear about a black belt? My daughter started jiu-jitsu when she was 4 or 5. And to this day, she can tell me when she's getting a stripe and what belt comes next. Why? She heard about it early on and she hears about it often. There's a plaque on the wall at the school with all the belts. She sees belt promotions. It's talked about. It's on the announcement boards and everything like that. And that is how I want you to think about seeds to salvation. Talking about the roadmap starts from the very beginning. The second way I want you to think about seeds to salvation is less is more when you're using a phrase like, that's exactly why. What do I mean by that? A pitfall that a lot of coaches fall into is thinking that over-delivering is giving clients in their first program as much information as possible. The more modules, the more I teach, the more valuable it must be. But value comes from results, not information, especially in the world of ChatGPT today. I always love to tell this story about a mentor that I had, and he was talking to me about how him and his friends went to go see this medical practitioner or this doctor, and they loved her. And he jokingly said, but we all have one complaint about her. She talks too damn much. And he said, so me and my friends went to this doctor and we presented her with an offer. And we said, we will pay you triple if you can cut our appointments in half the time. We will pay you triple if we can cut our appointments in half the time. What does that teach us? What does that remind us? That people value results faster, not more modules and more information. And that's why less is more. Now, I get it. Sometimes a client in their first phase program is like, when are you going to teach me this? I want to learn how to hire. I want to learn about intuitive eating. And while you could teach them that, I would argue if you are the true authority and coach for that person, you are doing them a disservice by teaching them an advanced topic too early. It breaks their focus, it distracts them, and it's not even implementable right now either way. What people need early on is the least amount of things that allow them to be focused, take effective action, and leads to results. And so that's where I'll use a phrase sometimes if a client asks me, like, hey, when are we? Hey, that's exactly why we have our next level program. That's for when someone gets to more 10 to 30K a month, we'll start teaching them how to hire a setter or bring on a closer. But admittedly, it would be a distraction to you right now, and I'd be doing you a disservice by trying to cover that with you right now. Going back to the martial arts analogy, if a 9-year-old comes in to learn karate and they watch some movie and they saw some spinning wheel kick or something like that, and that's what they want to learn on day one, if I'm letting the client dictate what I teach, I'm now teaching this 9-year-old how to do spinning kicks and they can't even balance to do a front kick. Regardless if you understand martial arts or karate or not, my guess is that you would make sense, or it would make sense to you, that trying to teach a 9-year-old to do that advanced kick would be a waste of time. They could hurt themselves. It wouldn't be effective anyways when they don't have the fundamentals. And that's where less is more, but you knowing that, hey, we will cover that. So you can say, hey, that's exactly why we have our next level programs. If I was in a jiu-jitsu class, you might say, that's exactly why we have our sparring class. We will cover that here. In this class, we're drilling fundamentals. It allows you to be the authority. It allows you to plant seeds to salvation. We will get to that while standing in your authority to say, this is what we need to cover right now based on where you're at in your journey. And the third and final key to seeds to salvation is understanding what actually creates high-level LTV and retention and what must happen in the first 1 to 4 weeks if we're believing that retention actually is lost at the beginning, not the end. And that is, in the first 30 days, we want a student to experience the 3 Bs. The 3 Bs being, do they feel like they belong? There's a reality that when we can get someone to belong, we increase how much they believe. Think about that for you when you finally felt like you fit in at a church, on a team, at a school, or something like that. I remember for me, by November of my freshman year of college, I was convinced I was transferring. I went home for Thanksgiving break. My mom said, you're finishing at least the first semester. I said, sure, fine. I went back and I started to really click with certain relationships and friendships. And I ended up staying at that school for all 4 years. The second thing that we want to make sure is happening, that they believe in the path and where we're taking them. Once again, that comes back to, do we lay out the roadmap for them early and often? It's kind of like if you've ever been on a subway, train, or something like that. Have you ever been on a subway before or a train that doesn't have the map with like the lights on what stop you're at? At least when I've been on trains like that, I start feeling a little anxious. Like, did I miss my stop? I start looking out and questioning if I should jump off the train. But most people don't jump off moving trains as long as what? They know it's taking them to where they want to get to. So do they believe in the path? Versus if you've ever been on a subway or a train and it has the map and it tells you every light, what do? You just start scrolling on social media, reading a book, and you just trust and know 5 more stops and I'll get up and I'll get off. There's not as much anxiety. There's belief that the train's taking you where you want to get to. You're not questioning jumping off the train. And the third thing is, do we create a breakthrough? A breakthrough for them, some sort of result, dopamine hit in the first 1 to 4 weeks. One of my fitness coaching clients, Kevin, 7-figure fitness coach, his company has an initiative called 10-4. They strive to help all their clients lose 10 pounds in the first 4 weeks. Now, some might only get to 6, some might lose 15, but they're willing to have a little bit of higher standards and be a little more aggressive in that first 30 days, knowing that it'll get a client earlier results. They'll believe in the path, they'll have a breakthrough, and it'll increase their adherence and their LTV, the entire experience, because of what happened at the beginning, not the end. And so again, summarizing seeds to salvation. Retention is lost at the beginning, not the end. So you must talk about your roadmap early and often. Less, come on y'all, none of you told me that I spelled that wrong. Less is more. And the phrase you want to use often is that's exactly why. It lets people know you're going to cover what they want to learn, but at the appropriate time. And then in the first 30 days, do you accomplish the 3 B's? Do you help them feel like they belong? Do you ensure they believe in the path you're taking them on? And do you help them get a breakthrough at the early stages? Okay, the third and immediate shift that you can make is installing E equals E into your delivery and therefore improving your experience funnel. What does E equal E mean? Most retention of employees, clients, relationships in life break down when experience doesn't match expectations. So E equals E stands for someone's experience must equal their expectations. Now, if you're taking notes, sorry about the handwriting there, I would jot this down because I think this is key. People don't actually care too much what could happen to them as far as the experience, as much as they care a lot more that you as their leader, mentor, coach told them that it could happen to them. Does that make sense? They don't care as much. For example, they don't care that it might take 2 weeks just to get the first campaign launched. They care that you told them that instead of making them feel like they were going to have 1,000 leads in the first 48 hours, as an example. People care less about what could happen as much as they care more that you told them it could happen. And here's where most people get expectation communication wildly wrong. 1, we tend as coaches making sales to believe that the better we make it sound, the more bought in they'll be. The better we make it sound, the more likely they will be to buy. But the reality is that's doing a lot of harm. That's why I believe expectation should be communicated with what we refer to as 10-80-10. I'm not afraid to tell clients what could go wildly wrong. And I think that's part of what establishes trust. It also improves the experience for the client. So when that thing does go wrong, they go, Mike told me this could happen. Because if you're helping somebody create results, grow, and transform in an area of their life they've never experienced before, would you agree that that's probably going to come with some adversity? If it was just easy, they would have made it happen already. If it was just simple, they would have done it themselves. But growth comes with some challenges and adversity. So why don't we just tell them that? It actually leads to a better experience, a better client adherence, better results, and yes, better LTV and all those things. So what is 10-80-10? I like to set expectations with people in all different areas about the top 10% results, the bottom 10% results, and what the norm is. And I try and do this with just about everything a client could experience when it comes to results or their opinion or experience or feeling about something. Let me explain. So let's say I'm onboarding a client for a weight loss program, my Health and Wealth Academy. You would hear me say often, so Aaron, welcome to the Health and Wealth Academy, blah, 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 blah. Now, I just want to make sure we're on the same page about kind of what to expect as far as the results you'll get. We have had students like Alan Farber who lost 35 pounds in his first 30 days. Now, that is top 10% results. That doesn't happen for everybody. And if you want to be the type of person who had above average results, there's a couple things you should know about Alan. He also had 100 pounds to lose, so he had more weight to lose. But credit to him, he didn't miss a single workout we assigned to him or a single day of tracking nutrition in the first 30 days. That's going to lead to a great level of results. We've also had students like Bree Henderson. Her goal was to lose weight, and she gained 10 to 15 pounds in her first 4-month program with us. She easily could have said, Mike, this is a scam. It didn't work. What the hell? Luckily, she trusted the process that her and her coach, Kurt, were working on, and we customized and we're continuing to work with her. And we were able to identify 2 things for Bree. 1, she traveled a lot for work. So she'd be good while she was home, and then she would fall off when she was traveling. And so because of that, and because of how often she traveled, she had many weeks where she was not on plan with her program. The second thing we found out is that even the days she was hitting the nutrition plan we gave for her, she had a handful of food allergies and intolerances that were causing her body to bloat. As soon as we clean those two things up, and yes, she retained into our next level program, even having put weight on when her goal was to lose weight, she ended up losing a net 30-ish pounds. So she lost the weight she had put on and an additional 15 to 20 pounds. And she was really excited about her overall experience. So yes, sometimes we have clients like that. But the norm, like the average of what you can expect, is about a half a pound to 1.5 pounds of fat loss on a weekly basis. So if your first phase program with us is 16 weeks, that means you could probably expect to lose on the low end 5 to 8 pounds, on the high end 15 to 20 pounds, as long as you're following your program and doing your part. Now I've set expectations for the full range. That's results. Now let's talk about just maybe opinion or experience. I might say, hey, Sally, I want to make sure you're on your first group call here this Monday. Now, just to be clear, not one group call is going to save your life. It's more about consistently showing up. You might show up to your first group call and you might be like, Mike, that was mind-blowing. I heard something that it's exactly what I needed to hear on that day, in that moment, that kept me motivated and kept me on track. Or I learned exactly why I was struggling to stay in my calorie deficit, and now I feel more confident about that. So sometimes you show up to a group call, like it felt like it was a game changer. You might also show up to a first group call and go, I don't really know if this was worth my time. Like I already kind of knew everything. I didn't really jive with the group. I don't know. I felt like that was a little bit of a waste of my time. Cool. Many students feel that way on their first call. You're new, you're a little nervous. It's not about one call. It's about the consistency of staying plugged in. 80% of the time, it's about showing up, hearing one thing that you needed to hear that shifted your mindset, kept you focused, or one thing you learned that you can apply. If you walked away from every call with even just one thing from the 60 minutes that was valuable, compounded over 24 weeks, compounded over 16 weeks, could you see how that would make a major difference in your consistency and the results you're going to have? And so a lot of people set improper expectations. They either A, don't set expectations at all, or B, they only hype up the top 10%. That would be a coach. And this is where I hate about our freaking industry when it comes to marketing and everything like that. Most coaches want to market and advertise their client that had a 100K month one time, and it's like a top 1% student out of 100. I like to set expectations based on the whole range, so people understand the top, the bottom, and the average. And it allows them to also choose which type of student they want to be. Because a lot of times when I explain the top 10%, I explain what led to those types of results as well. Now, if and when a client has poor results for a period of time, I think of a client, Adrian. He signed 0 paying clients in his first program with us, learning how to grow his online coaching business. He easily could have been like, screw this, blah, 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 blah. He luckily invested and continued. He was building his skills. He was building momentum. In the first 4 to 6 months, 0 paying clients. In the next 6 months, $100,000. He's really happy that he didn't give up. He's really fortunate and proud that he kept going. Okay. So I love using examples like that. Some people are like, you tell people they got no results? Yes. I also tell them there are some people like Anna who signed 16 new clients in her first 4 weeks with us. Now here's why that happened. It establishes trust and it sets proper expectations, all leading to a better experience for your client. And so as we start to close out here, you don't build a truly valuable business just from front-end clients. Because really, more times than not, it is one bad marketing month away from feeling like it's really volatile. The most valuable businesses in the world, like we started this video with, focus equally on CAC, front end, and LTV on the back end. That's where real value comes from. That's where sustainable and scalable businesses are built. Now, if you're watching this and you're already doing 20K to 100K a month and you don't want to try and implement this all by yourself, and you would value me and my team installing these systems with you as close to done for you as possible, then you can click the link below. We can explore if it even makes sense for us to consult together. And on that call, we'll map out what your roadmap and your experience funnel could look like based on your existing business and identify where there are potential bottlenecks for you to add $250,000 to $1 million to your business this year. Either way, I hope today's training was valuable. As always, with things like this, don't just say, "Oh, that was good." Decide right now, what are you going to take from this video and implement and apply right away? Thanks for watching.